Remember that the majority of Paul's list of wickedness in chapter 1, verses 29 through 30, is not about our actions. Rather, he is focusing on our attitudes. We are to look at our hearts before looking at our hands. His teaching lines up with Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where the Lord says, "You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'Do not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment.' But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment." Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 22. For most of us, it is not too hard to get to the end of the day and say, "Well, I haven't murdered anyone." It is rare for us honestly to be able to say, "I have not been angry with anyone. I have not treated anyone as though they were not worthy of love." So Paul's challenge to you in Romans chapter 2, verse 1 is, when you see someone acting in anger, murdering for instance, what do? It is, of course, right to be someone who judges all things. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 15, in the sense of following God's verdict on what is right or wrong. If we don't, we become the people of Romans chapter 1, verse 32, who approve of those who practice sin. But to pass judgment in chapter 2, verse 1, is not simply saying, "That is wrong," but accompanying it with a particular attitude, basically saying, "You are lost, and I'm glad, because now I feel better about myself." In other words, to pass judgment is to believe that others are worthy of God's judgment while you are not. The invisible tape recorder. It is even very possible that we would pass judgment on someone for an attitude that we ourselves know we share. John Stott points out that we tend to be far quicker and harsher in our criticism of others than of ourselves. We find all kinds of excuses for our sin. We were tired or provoked, or it was a lesser evil, while being fast to notice and condemn it in others, without ever considering what burdens they may be carrying. John Stott puts it like this: we work ourselves up into a state of self-righteous indignation over the disgraceful behavior of other people, while the very same behavior seems not nearly so serious when it is ours, rather than theirs. The Message of Romans, page 82. Condemning others while excusing ourselves is what allows us to hang on to both our self-righteousness and our sin. We can feel good about ourselves while indulging in what makes us feel good. All the while, Paul says, you are condemning yourself. In other words, on the final day of God's judgment, when I stand before him, the counsel for the prosecution will be me. God's judgment against those who do such things is based on truth. Verse 2. God is scrupulously fair in his judgment, and he will use our own standards, the judgments we made with our own mouths, as the standards by which we are judged, as Jesus warned in Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. It is what the 20th century theologian Francis Schaeffer called the invisible tape recorder. It is as though, unseen, there is a recorder. In this decade, it would be an MP3 recorder around each of our necks. It records the things we say to others and about others, about how they ought to live. Then at the last day, God the judge will take the tape recorder off your neck and say, I will be completely fair. I will simply play this tape and judge you on the basis of what your own words say are the standards for human behavior. Paul asks, do you think you will escape God's judgment? Romans chapter 2, verse 3. No one in history can realistically answer, yes, I think I will. Paul's elder son. Therefore, self-righteous religion is just as much a rejection of God and a misunderstanding of his character, chapter 2, verse 4, as the self-centered irreligion of the end of chapter 1. An atheist suppresses the truth about the existence and nature of God, and uses God's gifts to indulge their own desires, without giving glory or thanks to the giver. It is a presumptuous contempt for his kindness. It is an